General Motors continues to reject demands of former employees, including one in the 71st day of his third hunger strike, to negotiate the demands of workers fired after being injured at a GM-owned plant in Colombia. Last week in Detroit, supporters delivered a petition with 76,000 signatures to GM headquarters and protested at an auto show. All to help raise awareness of the plight of Astra Trecol, the group representing injured workers who had fired from GM's Colmatoris plant in Colombia. Melvin Thompson, an active Detroit auto worker, former president of UAW Local 140, led the action.
GM fired 200 workers.
GM fired 200 workers.
Who suffered job-related injuries.
Who suffered job-related injuries.
Demand justice from GM.
Demand justice from GM.
Thompson, who has done a 20-day fast in solidarity with the hunger-striking Colombian auto workers, was among several activists briefly detained by authorities. In May 2011, 68 workers who said they were fired after being injured on the job formed Astra Trecol and laid out their demands of GM, which include retraining and new jobs in the plant, disability benefits for those unable to work, and compensation for lost wages. On August 1st of that year, they began occupying the sidewalk across the street from the U.S. Embassy in Bogota to direct the U.S., which holds 26% of GM shares, to deliver justice. A year later, after a lack of response from GM, Astra Trecol escalated their protests and launched a hunger strike by sewing their lips shut. GM agreed to mediation for 11 of the original 68 workers, but talks ended inconclusively August 31st. That's why Jorge Parra, president of Astra Trecol, traveled to Detroit and decided to launch his second hunger strike on September 3rd. But despite Parra now being on his 71st day of his third hunger strike, GM spokesperson Katie McBride says the company won't negotiate further because the workers rejected their final offer at the time of mediation.
We've offered $150,000 in programs for the workers and their families, and about 15 months of their average monthly salary, about 15 months of health care and pension benefits, and 2 years of higher education. Our offers were very generous. So I'm not sure where he's coming from. From our perspective, it was a very generous series of offers.
But Jorge Parra says they rejected the offer because it's insufficient to cover their medical expenses.
Y yo con esa cantidad de dinero no voy a poder operarme. No me alcanza, porque no es solo la operación, sino terapias y también mantener a mi familia. Y sobre todo, lo más crítico en mi situación es que el cirujano me ha dicho que yo puedo quedar en silla de ruedas.
McBride strongly defended the company's handling of the negotiations.
From our perspective, we have done due diligence, and we made a series of good faith efforts to respond to the group's concern. As I said, we visited the plant to validate its safe, healthy working conditions. We helped select the third-party mediator. We've offered the group training, funding, and other resources so that they can return to productive work again and care for their families. And despite these active steps to address the concerns, some of them continue to make demands outside the legal and the mediation process, and we can't do that.
But Parra and his supporters doubt justice can be achieved through the Colombian legal system. Trade unionists are murdered with impunity. 29 were killed in 2012 alone. Parra says the campaign of civil disobedience is needed to force GM back to the negotiating table.
Nosotros hemos demostrado la corrupción de nuestro sistema judicial en Colombia, donde desafortunadamente, como yo les comentaba, a pesar de que las leyes protegen a los trabajadores, eso no existe. Lo que nosotros le hemos propuesto a General Motors con esta situación que hemos hecho y con la huelga de la embajada, simplemente es otro tipo de lucha que era demostrarle a la gente con los papeles, a la propia sociedad, no a los jueces ni a nuestro gobierno, que son los que pueden controlar ellos con su dinero.
Despite concerns for his failing health, Parra has vowed to continue the hunger strike until GM agrees to negotiate a just settlement. Reporting for The Real News, this is Jessel Noor in Detroit.